All right, guys, we're going to do surface area. So let's take a look. So we're going to do two example problems for the three type of surface area questions that you're the most likely to see, which is rectangular, solid, cylinder, and cube. Okay, so you do have formulas that you need to memorize here, right? So for rectangular solid, we have 2 times length times width plus 2 times width times height plus 2 times length times height. Okay, so you have 2 of everything, right? 2 lengths, 2 widths, 2 heights. That might be an easier way to remember it. Okay, so once we have our formula, then we're just gonna plug them in. So 2 times 5, which is the length, times 7 plus 2 times 7 times 8. Right, it's really just plug in and multiply. Plus 2 times, again, the length is 5. The height is 8. Okay, and then if you want to just do this along with me, we have 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 7 is 70. Plus 7 times 8 is 56. Times 2 is 112. Plus 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 8 is 80. Okay, and you just add them up when you're done. So with this one, once we add all those up, we get 262. Okay, so again, the big key is knowing the formula, right? And that 2 length times width plus 2 width times height plus 2 length times height. And again, that's 2 of each of those, right? And you're just combining them. And once you've done that, you got yourself a good answer, right? Then you just got to plug in some math. Okay, so let's look at another one. Length is 2. Width is 4, height is 5. Okay, then we're plugging in. Okay, 2 times 2 length times 4 width plus 2, and then width times height, right? 4 and 5. And one more. 2 times the length times height. Length is 2. Height is 5. Okay, and after that, again, it's just a plug in. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. And 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, and if you add all these up, 40 and 20 makes 60. 60 plus 16, 76. Okay, that's all you got to do. So that's rectangular solids. Again, the formula is the big deal. Right? You got the formula, then we can just plug in some math, take our time, make sure we don't make any mistakes, and you'll get the question right. Right? This is going to be one of the harder questions. Okay. Cylinder. Remember, like, volume and surface area have different formulas. They're not the same. Okay, so we got a 2 on the outside times pi r squared h. Right, so pi r squared h, and r being radius, h being height. Pi r squared height is the formula for volume. But cylinder, you have a 2 in front of it, and then you have to add height times 2 pi r. Okay, so that's a big one. And there's really no way around it, is you have to memorize it. Now, if you memorize it, and then they'll give you radius, and they'll give you height. Okay, so once I have that, okay, then the rest, I'm just plugging the numbers in. Okay, so I got my 2 on the outside times pi. Okay, radius is 2, right? Oops, radius is 5, I mean. That's the way you make mistakes. It's going too fast. Okay, radius is 5, height is 2. Okay, we close that thing off. Plus, we said the height was 2 times 2 times pi times the radius, which is 5. Okay, so just a bunch of numbers. All right, so if we keep carrying this out here, we got our 2. 5 squared is 25, right? So we'll call that 25 pi times 2. Okay, now it looks a little better at least. 2 times 2 is 4, so we'll call this 4 pi. And we've still got our 5 there, right? Okay. Now, so we have in here we have 25 pi times 2, so that's going to be 50 pi. Don't forget about the 2 on the outside here. Plus, so we have 4 pi times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. So 20 pi, right? Okay, now we're almost there. So we got our 50 pi times 2. That's going to be 100 pi. And plus 20 pi. So when we add these together, we will end up with 120 pi. Okay, so it's a bunch of math. You got to know that formula. If you have those, if you add the formula together, you take your time with the math, you'll be good. Okay, so we'll do one more, even though they're kind of time consuming. This will be a long video, but we want to make sure you guys have this down, right? And that all that's left is for you to just memorize that formula. And, you know, that really is just a small amount of effort so that you can get these questions right. Okay. So for this one, okay, and this can happen again where they don't tell us radius this time. They tell us diameter. Okay, so right when they tell us diameter equals 8, that needs to mean to us radius is 4, right? Because radius is only half as big as diameter, right? That can show up in these questions. It really shows up in questions about circles, right? But this can show up here as well. Okay, so what do we do? 2 times pi times 4 squared times 3 plus the height is 3 times 2 times pi times the radius, which is 4. Okay, so once you've done all of that, then, yeah, there should have been a parentheses to close this thing off. then we're just doing math now. Okay, so 4 squared is 16. So we got 16 pi. 4 squared is just 4 times 4 times 3 plus 3 times 2. Shoot, cross that little thing out. 3 times 2 is 6. So we got 6 pi, and keep that 4 around as well. Okay, there's all we got there. Okay, and then we just got a little bit more math to do. So 16 times 3 is 48. So that's going to be 48 pi. And we got to multiply that by 2 still. Plus, right, we have 6 pi here times 4. So we've got 24 pi. Okay, so 48 times 2 is 96. Okay, so that leaves us with 96 pi plus carrying over this 24 pi. And when we're done, we end up with 96 pi plus 24 pi. So this is going to be 120 pi when everything is said and done for the cylinder. Okay. So that gets us through cylinders, and we're just left with cube. Cube is usually the easiest to calculate. Same story though. Another formula that you have to know. So really you got 3 formulas for volume, 3 formulas for surface area. And if you don't know them, and a lot of people don't, then it's just a question of a little bit of memorization. Okay, so cube, here's our last 2. And so a cube is 6s squared, and s being side. Okay, so if we say here, if each side is 3 inches, then all we're going to do is 6 times 3 squared. Now, try to remember PEMDAS, right, from order of operations. So 3 squared, so we do parentheses first. Like we look inside the parentheses, we just got that 3, nothing else to do. Next is E, which is exponents, right? So we have this 3 squared, so we want to have that equal 9 times the 6, and then we will multiply. 6 times 9 is 54. Okay, and that'll be your answer. It's a lot easier than the other problems, right? Okay, so we want to make sure that we remember exponents first, multiply second, not just the other way around, otherwise we come up with some weird answer, right? Because otherwise I would have gone 6 times 3 is 18, 18 squared is some number way bigger than 54. Okay, and for this last one, we'll say same kind of problem. We'll say each side is 5 feet. Okay, so if we have that, then we know we got 6 times our 5 feet squared equals same exact type of thing. Remember our order of operations. We do 5 squared first, right? 5 squared is 5 times 5. So it'll give us 25 times a 6. And this will result in 25 times 6 is 150. There's our answer. Okay. Thanks guys for sticking with me on surface area. I know this was a long video. You got some formulas to memorize. Once you have that, surface area, really no problem at all.